What makes the Harry Potter series so good? And what makes Half-Blood Prince a lot of people's favorite book? So this is a series called Lightning Struck Pages. This started out a while ago where I take a random page from a random Harry Potter book and I read it. Today we're going to do Half-Blood Prince, page 10, which is such an early page in this series. So without further ado, I'm going to read the page and then we're going to talk about it. Whatever the press and the opposition might say, the Prime Minister was not a foolish man. It had not escaped his notice that despite Fudge's assurances at their first meeting, they were now seeing rather a lot of each other. Nor that Fudge was becoming more flustered with each visit. Little though he liked to think about the Minister of Magic, or as he always called Fudge in his head, the other minister, the Prime Minister could not help but fear that the next time Fudge appeared, it would be with graver news still. The sight, therefore, of Fudge stepping out of the fire once more, looking disheveled and fretful and sternly surprised that the Prime Minister did not know exactly why he was there, was about the worst thing that had happened in the course of this extremely gloomy week. "How should I know what's going on in the, wizarding community?" snapped the Prime Minister now. "I have a country to run, and quite enough concerns at the moment without." "We have the same concerns," Fudge interrupted. "The Brookdale Bridge didn't wear out. That wasn't really a hurricane. Those murders were not the work of muggles, and Herbert Chorley's family would be safer without him. We are currently making arrangements to have him transferred to St. Mungo's Hospital for magical maladies and injuries. The move should be effected tonight." I'm afraid What?" blustered the Prime Minister. Fudge took a great deep breath and said, "Prime Minister, I'm very sorry to have to tell you that he's back. He who must not be named is back. Back? When you say back, He's alive? I mean," the Prime Minister groped in his memory for the details of that horrible conversation of 3 years previously when Fudge had told him about the wizard who was feared above all others. The wizard who had committed 1,000 terrible crimes before his mysterious disappearance 15 years earlier. So one of the fun things about doing the lightning struck pages when the page number is so early in the books is you get to talk about the idea of the previously on chapter. The first chapter of every book, except for the first one, which still kind of has it, is the previously on the last book, or previously in the last book, technically is proper grammar. But it's just, hey, let me summarize the events that are important for you to know to be able to read this book. Even though nobody is going to be picking up Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince for the first iteration of their introduction to Harry Potter. Ooh, this Harry Potter book looks pretty good. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Oh, it's got a 6 on the side. Oh, well, I'll pick it up and start reading it. Nobody's going to do that. Granted, I say that, but the first book that I read in the Harry Potter series was Chamber of Secrets. So I can't really fault anybody. But the previously on chapter, I think that might be why it's one of my favorites, is because, like, picking up Chamber of Secrets as a kid, reading it, is I wasn't really confused on what happened because it kind of explained everything in the first chapter. I knew there was a first book. I had tried reading the first book. The first chapter for a 7-year-old is just, it's kind of boring. I really don't care about a large man who works at a drill company yelling at his employees. It's a boring chapter. As an adult, I realize it's supposed to be a boring chapter. You're supposed to be introduced to the Muggle world and be like, wow, that's really boring. And then Dumbledore steps into the frame and it's like, wow, that's magical. I hope I get to go there. And that is the entire point of the first chapter of Sorcerer's Stone. Now, the first chapter of every preceding book is, hey, let's kind of go over what the events of the last book and maybe, like, you know, important things from previous books, like the other minister. This is the perfect explanation of, like, hey, Voldemort's back. This is what we need to know. Well, Voldemort disappeared 15 years ago. Okay, you told us that. But then all of a sudden he showed back up. Well, was he helped by that Sirius Black guy that apparently is a bad guy? Because that's what I remember the last thing. Oh no, he was actually innocent. It was his best friend who was the one who was the bad guy. We messed up on that a lot. Also, a bunch of prisoners escaped Azkaban last year because we, as a government, were just kind of turning a blind eye to the fact that one of the most evil wizards had gained so much power, and we just kind of ignored it because we wanted to just, you know, hide our heads in the sands like ostriches. Is that good? Yeah. Also, I'm being replaced. That's what happens right after this, is I'm gonna be replaced. Here's the war minister gonna come in. He's only gonna last a little bit and do just as bad of a bungling job as possible, because the one thing that he needs is Harry to support him. And when Harry says, well, I need these stipulations, he goes, no, that's not how this works. You work for me and I give you nothing. And Harry goes, Minister, you're barking. Shut up and get out of my Weasley house. Half-Blood Prince is actually one of my favorite books in this series. Like, it's, I think, my favorite book, not my favorite movie, because the book, you get so much lore in Voldemort, but you also get tidbits of ancient magic and more, like, there's more to the wizarding world that even, like, we don't know about. Like, Dumbledore knows about it, and it's just, oh, no, we're not actually going to teach you anything about this. Like, the only thing you're going to hear about is just the briefest intellection of Horcruxes, but also at the same time, who cares? Don't worry about those. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. You're just going to have to figure it out yourself in the next book. But just the whole thing, and it brings the connections to the forefront. Like, hey, you know, Chamber of Secrets, which was probably one of your least favorite books in the series, even though, like I say, I like all the books in the series. Chamber is probably my least favorite. We're going to make that important. We're going to make the main MacGuffin of Chamber of Secrets one of the most important items in the series, because it's going to teach us what we need to know about Voldemort's secrets. And it's cool. It's cool, the idea. And where the Order of the Phoenix really kind of followed, you know, the teenage angst and just the idea of depression, Half-Blood Prince really follows the idea of grief after. Like, you get the idea of grief with Harry trying to deal with the acceptance that Sirius is gone, but Order of the Phoenix is all about just depression and grief, where Half-Blood Prince is the what happens after grief. And it even shows how much he matures after Sirius's death, how angry he was for so long, and how he went through the stages of grief just at the end. He was angry, he was bargaining, he was denying, he was just going through all whatever many stages of grief. I need to look those up. I'm going to interrupt just quickly the whole idea of this video, and I just wanted to talk about how I have memberships. If you want to support me financially, awesome, I appreciate you. I also have merch if you want something in return for your money giving. You don't have to. A like, subscribe, a share, that's support enough. The more I can get out there, the more viewers I can get, the better for everybody. But I just wanted to thank you in advance and let you know that there are options that if you like my content and want to support it, this is how you can do it. Memberships, merch, or like, subscribe, and share. And hype. I think that's a thing now. Yeah, he went through denial, he went through aggression, he went through bargaining, kind of. I think it was more of just let me die. Like, let me die so I don't have to feel this pain. Then he went into another depressive state just because when he was in Dumbledore's office and just, you know, kind of felt numb. And then acceptance. But even his acceptance at the end of the book wasn't fully realized until this book. In the 6th book is where he kind of felt the acceptance. I think also the introduction of the, you know, hey, the Muggle Prime Minister is aware of the wizarding world. And he goes, well, what's going to stop me from telling people? And he goes, my good man, Do you really think anybody is going to believe that a picture told you I was coming and then I walked out of your fireplace? You're the only one who knows this. And yeah, the other minister, the previous minister, could have told you about this, but would you have believed him? No. So it's just kind of one of those things. Like, the magical world is known by muggles, specific muggles. And it kind of builds to the point that I feel like if they were to make a sequel series to this, it's basically the wizarding world being outed to the muggles and there being some sort of very big disagreement between the two of them, because, you know, the muggles with their technology, the wizards with their magic, is at the point of Harry, you know, sending his kids back off to school. Technology and like wizarding magic are very like one and the same. Technology may even be better by the 17 years later introduction that we have in the prologue of Deathly Hallows. So it's just kind of one of those things that's like, it worked really well in the 90s, but the further you get into the future with the technology boom that we had in the aughts, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, I feel like there should be something going on where the muggles are like having a conflict with the wizards, because it's like, hey, technology is better than magic. Oh, no, magic is better than technology. Well, technology is safer. So stuff like that. And one of the fun things I do like about doing this Lightning Struck Pages series is just sometimes you get a nothing burger of a passage. Like, there really isn't much. This is just kind of setting up the whole idea that the Muggle Minister of Magic, it's just kind of setting up that the Muggle Prime Minister like doesn't like that he knows about the magical world and has to deal with it. And if things happen in the magical world that affect his world, he's the one who has to take the blame and have the explanation of like, hey, this is what happened. Well, that doesn't make sense. That's not how that works. Well, I don't know. I'm just a government person, not a scientist. So yeah, but that's it. I think it is a good introduction to one of my favorite books in the series. I think 6 and 3 are my two favorite. I think 6, 3, 4, 7, 1, 5, 2. That is my ranking. That is the official Marvelous Marauders ranking of books. Will it change for the books? Probably not. For the audiobooks, maybe. We will see. Stay tuned for that. This is going to be posting just after my review of the Order of the Phoenix full cast audio. So if you haven't watched that yet, make sure to watch that and stay marvelous and Nox.